Hello everyone and welcome back to Life Redesigned. My name is Bob.
I'm Carrie.
And Carrie and I have been married for the past 28 years, and in 2022 we sold everything we owned and we decided, what the heck, we're going to live a full-time RV lifestyle, and boy, welcome to our journey. Apparently we have a whole bunch of new people here, Carrie. We, in the last 28 days, jumped up something like 193 subscribers, so we want to thank you and welcome everybody new. And we've also, since this journey started in November, have gained something like 500. Yeah. So again, this is kind of like a big shock to us in our small little channel, but we are so over the top excited to have everybody along with us today. After we get all that out today, being woken up, crack of dawn, we're going to be leaving like two thieves in the night, is travel day. And we're excited because this starts our 1,000 Trails journey. Yep. After getting everything situated with Kimberly over at Campground Memberships, our 1,000 Trails membership is live and running, and we're making the trek now from the Gulf Coast of Florida down to Orlando, because we decided we want to jump right in the thick of it, and we want to start with the most controversial 1,000 Trails of all, which is 1,000 Trails Orlando. But enough of that, we'll cover that as we get closer. We've got a whole bunch of updates, but first we want to make sure everything is all packed up here, and including those of you who are asking, the whole workstation is all plugged into the Grease LT1000, which is not a plug, but just a mention that this is our full-time test here. Make sure this is going to power our laptop so we don't have to power down anything, and it's going to keep everything running in the background until we get to Orlando, which is roughly about 7.5 hours. So yeah, with that, it's raining outside. I can hear the frogs overtaking the campground here, so we're going to try to get out. Splash has been wonderful. If you haven't checked out this RV resort, you might want to go back to 2 weeks ago's video, and we did a full tour here, which is great. Boy, we got a lot of stuff to cover at a little bit of time. As you see, pitch dark, and you'll also notice way off in the background, if it's kind of hard to see, we have a new tow vehicle, which we're going to cover that as soon as it gets a little lighter outside. So stick around, we'll catch you in about an hour. Well, as you can see, we have decided to replace our trusty black GMC 1500 with a Dodge Ram 2500, and this is a 2022 model. We're fortunate enough to find a leftover, and we are brandy new. So that being said, a couple of things that we have done just to bring you up to speed is we have had a backflip tonneau cover installed so we can keep our e-bikes underneath, and we've also had some steps installed, as you see here, because, well, quite frankly, Gary couldn't get in it. So between that, and then we had the windows tinted with a UV-80 coating, including the windshield, so it's dark in the back, lighter in the front, and then you can see here the camera can kind of pick it up pretty good, that front windshield. It makes a huge difference being on the road, and it was, just especially at night with glare, and especially the Florida sun. It's been great. One thing I absolutely love about this truck, and I didn't even know, was the mirrors, Cara. So what I'm going to show you here, so you have your tow mirror, and this thing is just, when we get done, that's it. And I know this is probably not a big thing for a lot of people, but that was a huge deal for me. I was very excited. But we'll show you real quick the inside. You have to excuse the mess, and we'll probably do a bigger in-depth review here at some point. This is the interior. And one of the things that we were most excited about was the back seat, because we drove the GMC down to Orlando a few weeks back to meet up with our daughter and her boyfriend, and it was abundantly clear there was not enough back seat room. But this has ample room with a lot of storage underneath for all our stuff and gear. A big difference compared to the GMC. The other big noticeable difference here is that we're parked on an incline, but our whole setup has been drastically reduced as far as tilt and stuff like that. Makes a huge difference in his towing. One of the things that I can definitely recommend right out the gate is that while we were able to tow the 22 MLE with the 1500 GMC, I don't recommend doing it. And we were at the top of our tier there, and it just started to feel a little uncomfortable. So Gary and I made the decision to pull the trigger and pick up this truck. Now the interesting part is those of you that domicile in Florida or anywhere, South Dakota, Texas, whatever, is you don't have a physical address and you're using something like Escapees or My RV Mail or America's Mailbox, whichever one, we've covered this before, whichever one you use. The interesting part is when it comes to bank loans and what that means for you. And as we found out with Capital One, because we wanted to have at least one line of revolving credit being on the road, and we decided we're going to finance the truck, doing so became a bigger issue than what we thought. We were pre-approved through Capital One because we do pretty much all our banking through them. And then we went to the dealer sent us on our way, and then we weren't approved, and then we were approved, and it just required all this documentation. And it finally involved Carrie and I reaching out to Capital One and saying, hey, look, we're just going to pay cash for this. Let's cancel the loan. That immediately pushed it up the ladder to escalations because they didn't want us to go. And then they took into consideration all of our Capital One accounts, and they said all of a sudden, your address is fine. So those of you domiciling, there's certain systems that they have where the domicile address was a commercial address, and it really takes somebody to speak to explain what your lifestyle is. An important lesson if you ever want to do this, because as much as we could have paid for this for cash, it's nice to have that safety net because we're in a positive equity situation all around. So the financing wasn't really costing us anything. It was worth it. Anyway, enough of that. We're going to take a much needed bathroom break. Yeah. Grab a nice Celsius energy drink for the road. And then at our next stop, we can talk about our lifestyle changes and some health concerns that we had and some changes that we've made to address those as we continue to adjust to this full-time RV life. How about that?
Agreed.
All right, we'll catch you in a little while. All right, now something I forgot to mention is we are now a few hours later in bright sunshine, no more rain. And something I had forgotten to mention was about the new rig. This is already fifth wheel prep. So it already has a hole in the bed, and we're ready. Should we ever decide down the road that we decide, I don't know, maybe we need a little more space. Maybe something for some grandkids to jump in, something for our kids to jump in, stuff of that nature. We have that functionality. Speaking of the future, I alluded to in the last segment there that some health issues. So prior to our YouTube world and everything, Carrie and I used to like to do a lot of hiking. If you've seen any of our random videos on just random sections of the AT, that's what we like to do whenever we're not in transit somewhere. And what we had done a few years back in roughly 2016, I believe it was, 2017, we had hiked a section of the International Appalachian Trail in Quebec, Canada. And which is where this is at the top of Quebec.
Land's End.
Yeah, where this is at. And
yep.
So during that hike, I had thrown my back out pretty bad, and we ended up in a situation where Carrie wasn't comfortable driving back because all of the street signs were in French, and at the same time she hadn't run any really long distance driving at that point. So basically where that ended with my back was it was a matter of weight and carrying extra weight, and I immediately got home and said something had to change because that's a long drive back with a bad back. And so at any rate, we had gone through keto, and we had done that, and we had lost a significant amount of weight, and then the pandemic hit, and we decided we're going to gain it all back.
part of this lifestyle is it gets increasingly difficult to find healthy alternatives while you're on the road. And because of that, the first few months of this, we kind of just randomly just piled on whatever we wanted to, high in carbs, high in whatever. And now the back problems are starting to happen again. I've developed sleep apnea, which is an awesome thing if you've ever experienced that. So basically, you know, I die about 8 times a night. So enough. So the last 3 weeks, Carrie and I have been back on a ketogenic diet where we've virtually eliminated all carbs. I think we're down to maybe 3 a day, and that's mostly due to the rapid fire coffee we have in the morning. And we're soon going to be going into an all-out carnivore only diet for a while and see what that progression is like. It seems like the natural state for us. But so far, I'm happy to report that I've lost about 13 pounds in the last 3 weeks. I know you've had some weight loss as well.
6,
but it's 6 solid pounds of losing a structured weight loss, not rapid, not just dropping 20 pounds a week and to gain back. This is a steady diet, which is great. And so, you know, if it's something you're interested in, you want to know more about what we're doing and how we're doing it, we're not doing any hardcore exercises. We're basically committed to walking about 7 miles per day. Sometimes
that's hardcore right now.
Sometimes that's a little tough to get in, but we have consistently been doing above 5, and then our goal is 7 every day. So that's a good thing, and enough of all that kind of stuff. But we are an hour outside of Thousand Trails, Orlando. We just grabbed our Propel with electrolytes so we can get through the next portion. The next check-in, Carrie,
yes,
will be at what we have been told is the most controversial Thousand Trails on the system, period, because you either love it or you hate it. There's no in between. So we're going to go find out what all the hoopla is to find out if this is just more hype or if this is a legit issue over there. But for us as new Thousand Trails members, this should be an experience nonetheless. So we'll get there, we'll give you our initial impressions, and yeah. And while you're waiting, while you're waiting, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. That'll give you something to do while we get there. Well, we're inside, we got everything all hooked up. A lot better, because if you look at here, this is crazy. This right here, our weather station is 91 outside, and we've got it to a steamy 81 inside, but it's a little warm here in Orlando, Claremont area. But I did want to pop in and mention that both laptops, you know, not being used clearly, but they're powered on and everything, getting us all the way from the Gulf Coast here, 7.5 hours in that Green battery. Used only 16%. We saw 84% of the battery life left on that.
I call that a win.
I call that a huge win. Not only that, but I didn't have to climb under the desk to reset laptops and everything. So it was a nice way to leave them running the whole time. So yeah, so we're going to get outside. We're going to show you around there, and then we're going to wrap this video up. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go outside. All right. And Carrie, as promised, we've made it to TTO,
Woo.
otherwise known as Thousand Trails Orlando. A couple of first time observations. This is site 422, and we will try to do a fair review on this place, because I think a lot of it is either people driving through or just giving their opinions based on their behavior. And I want to do this place justice, so we'll reconvene in a couple of weeks and we'll give you our final thoughts. But first impressions, this is site 422. First off, checking in, everything was amazing. Not only did we follow the Thousand Trails recommendation, which was to check in online and print the form, we followed the instructions. We checked in at the guard shack. They took my license, they took the piece of paper, and they say continue on to the parking lot, because we're still at that point where they're guiding you to sites. We met another gentleman who just said, hey, go right here, handed us a welcome packet, and said someone will be right with you. And that's when it took a turn. We got greeted. One, it scared the crap out of me because you snuck up on me. Two, we must have gotten greeted by the friendliest camp host I have ever met in my life.
Tammy, we're talking to you.
And Tammy, you were amazing.
She's incredible. Funny.
Tammy came up and as she guessed everything was brand new, the truck and the rig, and she says, you know what, where do you want to go? And the first thing we said, well, based on everything that we've heard in YouTube, the only good spots are the new spots. And she says, look, if you want a new spot, it's Saturday now. I'll come get you at 9:30 and I'll bring you over tomorrow morning. We'll get you one of the new sites. She goes, but in the meantime, I'm going to find you the perfect spot. Tammy drove around this side of the RV park probably about three times. She even picked up Carrie and took her on a little excursion and brought her back. And we decided to stay right here. You know, look, I'm happy with this site. This is exactly what I would want. It rivals any state park that we've been to. It has full hookups. I've got some shade. I've got amazing Starlink coverage. And again, if you caught our video from a few weeks ago about the truth of RV full-time and mobile internet, you'll know that I'm a huge proponent of Starlink, and I don't even consider Nomadic internet is even an option after what they did. But you go back, you can look at that video, you'll get the whole story. But Starlink here is a stellar performer at about 59 megs down, and I'm going to put the speed test up above, and that speed test was taken within a couple of minutes of hooking up here. T-Mobile came in second with around 29 to 30 megs down, more than adequate for what I need for my work, for our play, and to upload, more importantly, content to you guys. So I think what I want to say here, first impressions, 1,000 trails. Right.
They're pretty friendly, pretty efficient, because you would have kept driving around.
And we arrived here at 1:45, 1:50 in the afternoon because we heard of the lines of everybody trying to get in to get the perfect spot. Now, if you've been watching Carrie and I any amount of time, or even if you're just new here, one, make sure you subscribe and click the like button. Got to get that in there. And two, you'll learn that very quickly from Carrie and I, we've learned over the years to learn about pivoting. We come in, we try to treat everybody the way we would want to be treated. We try to be friendly no matter how many hours we were on the road. And today we were on the road 7.5 hours. We were in traffic for miles. But we treated everybody here with respect, because after all, they're just doing their job. And in return, ironically, they treated us with respect.
Yeah.
And that's about, you know, really what it's all about. If you have an open mind, and remember folks, this is camping. The perfect spot is never going to exist because your neighbor's going to change constantly. You could have the perfect spot, the oasis on an island, and next thing you know, you're shipwrecked on the poop canal from, the big Titanic boat that sunk, the poop cruise. I'll edit that all out.
You won't.
I won't. So my point being is that no matter where you are, learn to relax and take this all in, because this RV lifestyle is about enjoying your time. Is there ever going to be a perfect situation? Probably not. But you have to learn to accept what you have and be merry. With our 1,000 Trails membership, Carrie and I will be afforded the opportunity to travel the country and see places we never would have seen before. Did it cost us money? Absolutely. Yeah. Are we intending on bitching about anything?
Nope.
Probably not. And it would have to take an immense amount of torture to get us to complain about it, because we knew what we were doing when we signed up and paid the bill. Now, that being said, we are going to get ready because Bob is a little bit sweaty. We need to go to Costco because we need to get ourselves lots of meats, because this boy is hungry, and all I've had to eat today is a couple of eggs, and I need to eat. So we're going to go do that. Meanwhile, we got friends that we have to meet up tomorrow, and we're going to go back to the races, get some stuff done here, and report back to you all our findings. Made it this far in the video, we thank you for stopping by. We thank you for your continued support, and more than anything, we thank you for being respectful to one another. For Life Redesigned, I am Bob.
I'm Carrie.
And this has been 1,000 Trails Orlando and the trip from the Gulf Coast.